Hey, today we're looking at All of Me, a great old standard written in 1931 and recorded by just about everyone, including a ton of guitar players. It's a super fun tune, and there's lots to learn from it. What we're going to do today is take a look at arpeggios through the chord changes of All of Me. And this is, it's moving up to the area where it's going to require a fair bit of work to get these arpeggios underneath your fingers. But I'm going to try to sell you on the benefits of doing that, right? Now, what an arpeggio is, first of all, is a broken chord. And in a jazz style of playing, or in an improvised guitar style of playing, basically the arpeggio, it's not like classical guitar playing where the arpeggio is, all in the right hand. In jazz playing, what you do is you work your way through the notes of the chord in sequence as they happen in the scale. So, for instance, here we have a C major 7 chord as the one chord in this, the first chord in this tune, and as well as the one chord in the key of C major. This is in the key of C major. Now, if I can play the C major chord down here. Just playing it on the inside 4 strings. And underneath that C major 7, I obviously have a scale, a C major scale. I'm just playing it vertically, meaning that I'm just staying in that vertical position, moving up to the top and then back down to the bottom, right? I'm not going horizontally, I'm not crossing the fretboard that way. But that's another thing. All right, so vertical arpeggios, and so that was a C major 7 arpeggio, a C major scale. Now, in order to draw the notes of a C major 7 arpeggio out of that scale, I play the 1, the 3, the 5, the major 7, and the same thing again. 1, 3, 5, major 7. 1, major 7, down to the 5. Just use up all the notes available to me. So there's my C major 7 arpeggio. I extract those notes out of the C major scale. So when I'm looking at the fretboard, when I'm conceptualizing the fretboard, I see there. I don't just see a C major 7 chord, a shape or whatever. I see what I see is that chord sitting on top of a scale, the scale that chord came from, and then the arpeggio of that chord as a melodic representation of that chord. Okay, so I hope that helped a little bit. So let's move to the next chord. We'll play it here in the middle of the fretboard, and this is an E7. The E7 chord does not come from the C major scale, so C major scale, goodbye. It comes from the A major scale, though. Okay, and then if I play the notes of the arpeggio, you can hear how that's, it represents the E7 chord, right? I hope you can. And so now we have C major. to the E7. And then A7, we could look at this as coming out of the D, the key of D, or we could also look at it. This is not like a wrong or right situation. It's just an option. You could also look at it as coming out of being derived from the A Mixolydian mode. And I'll play that for you. A Mixolydian mode would be the same notes as a D major scale. And that A Mixolydian mode is going to give me that flat 7. It's going to give me all the notes of the A7 chord, right? I'm going to play the Mixolydian mode, and then I'm going to play the chord. And you tell me if send me a note, say, and tell me if you think you heard the similarity of those. Mixolydian mode. I only use the notes of the Mixolydian mode. Right? Sort of a bit of a bluesy sound, mostly because of that flat 7. And then, so now we have 3 arpeggios. I'm just going to do that one again so you can track it. All right, and then we move to the D minor, and we're going to do a D minor 7. Whenever you encounter a chart and it says D minor like this, and you're in a sort of a jazzy style like this, you can always add the 7. Like virtually always. And very often it's just a stylistic kind of thing. So rather than keeping the D minor a triad, we'll just make it a 7. And what scale comes what scale defines this D minor? Let's just make it the C major scale, except we're going to start it on a D note. So what we're going to be playing is the scale of D Dorian. There's the D roots. That was pretty good Dorian sound there. Dorian is a really lovely minor scale because of that raised 6th degree. It has a raised 6th degree. We're not going to talk about modes a lot in this lesson, but so we extract the arpeggio out of that one, take a note, skip a note, take a note kind of thing, or here's what we're going to have. You can really hear how that reflects the sound of the chord, right? That's what this is all about, is melodic representations of the harmony, right? Okay, so now that's 4 arpeggios, and then now we're up to measure 9 with the E7, which we've already done, and then A minor. A minor is a diatonic chord in this key, meaning that all the notes are coming from the key of C major, or the scale of C major. So we can just do this arpeggio. The underlying scale here is just going to be the A natural minor scale. All the notes of the C major, except with starting with our root of A. So that would sound like this. Okay, and now the arpeggio would be 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, flat 3 on top. Really? I'm really tempted to play a pentatonic scale, right? Because there's only one note difference between the pentatonic scale and the A minor 7 arpeggio. All right, and then D7 chord is, again, we'll just use the D Mixolydian mode, which is just like a major scale with a flat 7. You could look at it that way, right? Mixolydian mode is like a major scale with a flat 7. There's my flat 7. Right. Okay. So here's the scale. Right. I'll do that one more time, slowly. Okay, cool. And now the arpeggio. The arpeggio, I mentioned before, take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note, take a note, out of the scales, right? So you start with the scale, the arpeggio is extracted out of the scale. That's just the way it works. You know, we're playing vertical scale forms, vertical arpeggio forms, so that they sit right underneath your fingers, and they're easy to use, and you can move them all over the fretboard. So when you move a chord around, not only are you moving the chord around, but you're moving the arpeggio around, and you're moving the scale around, all at the same time. You think of those in an intrinsic relationship to each other, right? Okay, so arpeggio, take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note out of the scale, right? It's a four note scale, 4-note arpeggio. A seventh arpeggio is a 4-note arpeggio, and this D7 goes like this. I'm going to play it slowly first. There's our D7. All right. And then the D minor, which you've already done. And then to the G7. And the G7 is diatonic. We're just using the notes of the, well, you should think Mixolydian, right? But it's going to be the same notes as C major. There's my flat 7 of the G7, next octave, way down there. All right. And there's my G7, take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note, takes note. And there you go, right? And then we start again. When I say start again, we're in the B section now, and the B section in this tune just repeats itself. So the first 8 measures is repeated in the B section. Exactly the same thing happens again. So we're not going to bother going over that. We'll just move down to the penultimate line there, where it says F, right? So the F. So now we want to play an F. Let's play an F major 7. We use the same major 7 that it just says F triad, but we're going to play it at major 7. Yeah, that's cool. Just a little more color and a little more interest. And actually, well, the triad arpeggios are sort of more difficult to play in a way, because if you're just playing a 3-note arpeggio, You have to do a lot more crossing around, skipping, because you don't have that extra note. So we're going to play an F major 7, and here it is up here. And we've already played this down here as a C major 7, right? And then we move to F minor 7, and we've already played that as a D minor 7. You can hear how that sounds like the chord, right? And E minor 7, skipping that C major, it's redundant. A minor. Same arpeggio. So we're just, the F minor 7. We're just moving that arpeggio down, a semitone, right? And then A7 with the thinking A mixolydian. Same deal again with that flat 7. Same thing we did for the G7. We're take a note, skip a note, take a note to get the arpeggio. Right, there's my A7, and then D minor 7. We've already done that one, and G7 we've already done this one. And then C6, well, we could play the C6, I guess. Let's play a C6, why not? A C6 would have to be, what do you think? Let's 1, 3, 5, and 6. The first, the third, the fifth, and the sixth note of the scale of C major. So let's build that arpeggio. 1, 3, 5, 6. 1, 3, 5, 6. And 1. It's sort of a cool sound, a little different than the major 7 or the 7, right? Right, there's that 6. All right. So that's all of the arpeggios in All of Me. Of course, you can play these arpeggios all over the fretboard, but the point I'm trying to make here is this is sort of a slightly more advanced way of starting to build a foundation on on any tune that you're intending to improvise over. And believe me, every good player has done this, and it takes some work, it takes some time, but I can't tell you how worthwhile it is. It's really super fun. All right, and I'm going to do a plug here. I actually wrote a book. Looks like this. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Essentials for the Improvising Guitarist. It's loaded with stuff like this, and you'll get all of the fingerings for each one of these chords and so on in this book. It's a pretty comprehensive book. Like this is like really comprehensive. It doesn't look that thick, but it'll probably keep you going for at least a year. Yeah, arpeggios in All of Me. Once you start putting those arpeggios together, as far as I know, there's some nice play along tracks for tunes like this, and a really great way to build a repertoire of tunes is to go through them in a play along with play along tracks, and just play through them with arpeggios. If arpeggios are too much right now, then just take a chunk of the arpeggio, like just the first and the third, right? And I'm not kidding. You take the first of the arpeggio and then the 3. right there, bam. The important thing is that you're sticking to the harmony of the tune, and you know, build from there. Okay, so if this was a help to you, please give us a like and subscribe. Remember that book; it's good. It took a lot of work putting that together. It takes me a long time to figure things out, and yeah. So like, subscribe, and thanks a lot for dropping by.